Welcome to your best bets. Players Championship Week, players in all caps, is upon us. The alleged fifth major in golf. Excited to talk about it tonight. By the way, episode number 178. We are closing in on 200. Got a ways to go, but we got a path forward to the big 200. Joining me tonight is Johnny Strouser. Johnny, it's been a couple weeks. How are we? What's new in your life?
Yeah, it has been a couple of weeks, and it's good to be back on as always. The first thing I was real busy at work today, so really didn't get to check out the X app. But the first thing I see when I log on, because this is the legal tampering period for the NFL, was DeAndre Swift signs with the Chicago Bears. The very
Mm.
first thing I saw, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's officially started there. So, my team, the Lions, re-signed Graham Glasgow, which was, I think, the big signing that they need to do. They lost Jonah Jackson, the a
Yep.
really good guard,
Yep.
but he was going to walk anyways because of the money that he was in a command. But Lions ended up acquiring a starting cornerback and signed a,
Yeah.
you know,
Davis.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
so we'll see there. But I've been actually checking it quite a bit in the evening as it slowed down because I was like, well, where are they trading Justin? Excuse me, Justin Fields. God
It's
damn it.
Justin's cousin Josh. Yeah.
So is he gonna get dealt? I mean, what's
I don't
I
know.
figured today'd be the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you about DeAndre Swift. Of course, someone you're very familiar with. Had a really nice season last year with the Eagles. I didn't. I've been all aboard the Ryan Poles for GM of the year. I he's just made a series of good moves. He had a dud last year, maybe one with the trade for a receiver I won't name out loud, but other than that, he's been so good and so measured with his moves. I didn't see this one coming, and I was a little surprised with Swift because we have two good running backs that feel are good running backs. And as you know, you can literally bring guys off the street to play the running back position in the NFL, and they can get you 100 yards. But $15 million guaranteed over 2 seasons. It's not a huge price to pay, unlike the Eagles for Saquon Barkley. As far as Justin Fields, I've been following this obviously very closely the last couple of weeks because I'm a 1,000,000% sure the Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams with one. So of course it's all about the market for Fields, and the rumor had been the last couple of weeks that it wasn't as strong as maybe originally discussed. Do you remember that ridiculous rumor maybe a month and a half ago when the Atlanta Falcons they might be willing to trade the number 8 pick, and I'm like, they are not. No way.
I
And
remember
now,
that. That was ridiculous.
yeah, it was ridiculous. Now I don't know what they could get for Fields. I mean, a fifth rounder, sixth rounder, but I don't even know if there's interest out there. So I'm on the path where, do we keep Fields? Like, can we convince him to take a role? And we know how hard it is for a starting quarterback to just get through the season healthy. Ultimately, the backup might play a couple of games here or there. So I don't know. I don't know what the right move is. I don't. If there's no market, do you want to give them away? I don't know. But very interesting times for sure for the Bears. Also, will they trade down from number 9, or will they draft an offensive weapon like a receiver or tight end like Brock Bowers? I don't really know what their plan is, but I'm all for just getting. So often we do the Patriot way of trading back, but it would be nice to get another nice weapon if they do draft Caleb Williams at 1. But can't wait for the next, just the rest of this week, and then when we get to the draft, it's so fun. This time of year is so fun in the NFL. As always, the NFL just always seems to just take all the attention away from, the NBA closing in on their playoffs. The March Madness is coming. It doesn't matter. NFL always wins out.
Yeah, it used to be the NBA was like the great off season, at least of 10
Mm-hmm.
last 10 years or so. But the legal tampering period, this week long thing is generally so good because it's just dudes you just don't even expect who are pretty
Yes.
good players sign these these big ass deals and stuff like that. So it's fun fun to sit and just refresh the social media there and watch it and everything like that. So, but it'll be interesting to see how once the dust settles, what you know what Chicago thinks of what they can get for Fields. I think that's a great idea, is to kind of keep both of them, draft Williams and keep Fields. But I just got to think that that's just a recipe for disaster within the locker room there, because you don't want to divide the players between the two guys, and sometimes you just got to cut it loose, because I think, isn't he on a pretty team friendly contract this year? But you've got to basically pay him 25 million or something like that if you choose to extend him.
Right. Yeah. Final year of the rookie deal, then you have the option. But um, it's it's amazing. I mean, the everything I've heard from like guys like DJ Moore and other guys in the locker room, they are extremely pro Fields, and that's where this could get tricky. And really, I can't remember a fan favorite as strong as Fields has been with his performance the last 4 to 6 games. I mean, the fans are heavily on the side of Fields. Tim and
Wow.
I go back and forth on this all the time. He's not a Caleb Williams guy. He is very pro Fields. I am as well, but I also just think at this point it's probably a bigger risk not to draft Caleb Williams and to stick with Fields and build around him. I feel like I never wanted anyone to be more successful in the NFL as a Bear than I did Justin Fields, but I think it might be best for both sides just to move on, and we got to draft this guy who
Yeah.
who seems to have that. I hate to say it, quote unquote, generational talent, and I think we just got to you know believe what the scouts and the talent evaluators say and go with this guy.
Yep. Yep. I think you can trust. I think you can trust polls though, in the end. So it'll be interesting, and I
Yep.
can't wait. I can't wait to be there and see how the whole thing plays out.
Yep. On the golf front, two things. Scottie Scheffler is very, very good at golf, and you and I have been talking about this season that this was coming to a head at some point with all of these 100 to 1 plus players winning golf tournaments and really making this impossible to bet this season in a lot of ways. Um, you and I both struck a little bit of gold with Scotty this week. We both had him in a parlay to really boost his number up, and it finally paid off. So I know we both benefited from Scotty wins. My first win since the gala in the fall. So I was very, very ready for a golf victory, and I think Scottie Scheffler was ready for a golf victory as well because he's been playing, as we've talked about, some truly historic tee to green type golf for a long, long time, and to finally pay it off in the way he did was pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah. I'm kind of. I'm a little shocked that this was your first 2024 win. Generally you've had very good success in the West Coast swing there,
Yep.
and a lot of the early season events there. So I mean, that just shows you how the season is going. Like, it's going to be so hard to pick 150 to 1 or 200 to 1 winners and everything like that. But I think as
Right.
you look at it though, this golf tournament, before Arnold Palmer passed away, had always wanted to set this golf course up the same way. He wanted the tees all the way back. He wanted super, super challenging pins. He wanted the greens rock hard, the fairways rolling out, and the rough thick. And that was a big deal to him. And to make it a tough test out the best golfers out there. And of course, the best iron player that we've seen since Tiger Woods finally solved the one part of his golf game that had been the elephant in the room as far as why he was not winning golf tournaments. Finally got that figured out for a couple of days and ended up showing up and everything like that. So it was a chalky win. We went from the big long odds guys to chalk, but this is a golf course that's what it's going to do. It's going to bring out those type of players there, and he certainly showed up, and I love the way he played. I didn't catch the entirety of the weekend rounds because I was out of town, but I did watch enough of it to know that it was good to see him making putts and playing confidently and he blew the field away. I mean, I don't know. He ended up winning by several shots there, and by you end up when you have when you're that good of a ball striker and your strokes gain ball striking and iron play in particular is that good, and then you like gain like 3 or 4 shots to the field and you're on your putting on top of it. I mean, the guy's unbeatable with those types of numbers, as most guys are, but him especially.
Yeah, I think what separates him is you talk about like guys like Colin Morikawa and Justin Thomas being, some of the best iron players of the last 5 years, some of the best iron players of their generation. You talk about Rory McIlroy being maybe the best driver of this generation. The thing about Scottie is he can do he molds those two together, and you said it best, unlike probably anything we've ever seen since Tiger. And really, I think Scottie's a better driver of the golf ball than Tiger was. Tiger could probably do it when he needed to you know, have a clutch drive in a major or whatever in his heyday. But I, you know, this guy just blows me away when I watch him play tee to green. I mean, I love, and I know you appreciate it as well. Um, Dominance like this, I think it's fun to watch. I'm kind of like, wow, how many is he going to win by? And when these guys are struggling on this test, and he's able to shoot the lowest score of the day, number one in putting on Sunday. Um, we've been asking what would this look like if this guy could just putt above average? Well, what if he putts great like he did from basically the 11th hole on Saturday all the way through the final round? What does it look like? Well, it looks like that where he's running away from the field, especially on a tough test like Bay Hill, where you can get this huge separation if a guy like Scottie plays the way he does. Again, I'm incredibly excited to see what he can do the rest of the season. Has he unlocked this putting issue with the mallet? And I know you had some thoughts about his putting as well.
That's the big question, obviously, is this the new Scheffler thing, or is this just kind of a hot streak that he's running, off of?
Mm-hmm.
I I think it's a little bit of both. I think if he sticks with it, stays patient with it, this could be a long-term solution of not gaining, 3.8 or 4.2 or whatever it was per event, but to be an average player. Um, you know, one of the things I observed from him, and I've watched a lot of golf over the last several years. Even before his dominance, when he was a good young upcoming player that we both liked his game quite a bit and still struggle with the putting. Always putted with a skinnier version putter, and the best way I could put it is he kind of his putting stroke was like guiding the putter head and the putter face through the ball. Like he was afraid to just let it go. Like think if you're throwing a baseball, if you're a pitcher and you're a little bit tense and you're really trying to manufacture your wrist and everything and just kind of throw it a certain way just to get the ball over the plate. When these guys who pitch in the major leagues, release it, throw it hard, just let it go, and they just trust their mechanics. And with that putter that he had, the couple of putters that he had prior to, he could guide it and somewhat, and he could trust it if he was putting on, had the right, you know, I guess consistency on on his putting stroke, but it just wasn't consistent enough. It wasn't day to day. It was almost like 9 to 9. I mean, he needed to have it where it's working for a whole tournament or for multiple rounds of golf in a tournament, because he can have a mediocre or below average putting day and still win a golf tournament like this. So
Yeah.
with this putter, once he kind of hit that back nine on Saturday, he hit a couple putts and it almost looked like he would take the putter back, and it didn't look like he was accelerating through the stroke, but he was hitting it with some authority. And so that means he just was kind of just releasing it. And if you've seen his golf swing, how he falls all over the place with his feet and everything, he just lets it go and doesn't he's not concerned with the moment of impact or the result of it. And he's always done that with his putting, and he doesn't do that now. That's a good lesson for amateur golfers as well, for all of us. I mean, you just got to trust it that you've practiced enough, and you could just kind of let that putter head go and release towards the hole. And he just happened to have a real, his release and his was squaring the putter up perfectly just about every single time. And it worked out really, really amazingly because he made a lot of putts that he doesn't normally make. A lot in that 5 to 15 foot range that you got to make to win golf tournaments there. So that was one thing I noticed that right away, and I was like, okay, I saw this, and it's like this could be interesting if he takes this into Sunday, and he did. He hit a lot of great, solid putts that he looked confident over, and if he can putt like that, he's still going to have poor putting days. He's still going to have average putting days, but he can have plus putting days as well. And when you need to win the Players Championship, or we need to win the Masters, or any of these big time golf tournaments, um, that's terrifying. If I was another PGA Tour player that was in the field with them, because the ball striking, like I said, is like Tiger. It's just done a different way with a different golf swing. And I know Tiger had, every time he had have to come up with a clutch golf shot, he would hit it. But Scheffler hits it he flushes it just as well. And if you add a little bit of putting like this, there's just no telling. I mean, what he can do. So the question is, yes, is it a flash in the pan thing? Will he revert back in the next couple of weeks, or will he keep it going? I mean, I like the stroke, and like I said, I think it's going to be a little bit up and down, but I'm hoping that we've seen kind of an uptick. So, I'm not sure what you saw, if you kind of observed the same, but I mean, it was some good shit.
Yeah, it was weird because Saturday, I'm watching, and he's kind of struggling through the first 10, 11 holes. And actually on 11, he doesn't get the ball to the hole, and he kind of yells at Ted Scott, who's obviously very accustomed to being yelled at on the golf course. Um, but he wasn't yelling at Ted Scott. He was yelling at himself, and he was
Yeah.
just kind of looking at Ted Scott. And then after that, it was like, dude didn't miss anything. I mean, I think I saw on Sunday he didn't miss inside 15 feet. I got to double
Wow.
check the stats. So, I mean, again, first in putting on Sunday. I mean, listen to these numbers for the week, though. First off the tee for the week, 12th in approach. Also, ridiculously good short game when he misses the greens.
Yeah.
First around the green, and then fifth in putting. That's game over for the rest of the field, and I'm just kind of excited to see what his actual ceiling is, because like I mean, if he would putt just in some world like he did this week, I mean, we could be talking about like 5, 6 wins this year. I don't think that's hyperbole,
Ooh.
with some big wins, maybe a major, or two. I mean, and here's the other reason I think the gap between him right now and the other top guys just feels unbelievably big. Like, because if you look at some of the other top players right now, Rory is really struggling. I don't know what's kind of the deal with him. Maybe we can talk about him in a second. JT's shown some life, which is awesome. Hasn't really felt close to winning. Our guy Zalatoris feels back, which is I love it. I'm excited, but he goes from 5 up, at one point Saturday, to not even sniffing a win. Um, so he feels far away. Hovland has kind of reverted back to, or at least there's been some regression. So you can kind of go all down the line. Cantley, Xander. I mean, it just feels like there's a big chasm between Scottie and everyone else right now, and I think it would be terrifying to be these other guys.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, and he's benefiting by some of these top guys not being in the fields anymore. You don't see, I mean, there's no John Rahm, there's no, none of these guys that he'll see at Augusta, but he can kind of beat up on these guys if he's putting that well. But you're right, there's a lot of I've always wondered the Florida swing has always been weird to me because you want to start out strong in the West Coast swing because that's just the start of the season there. You want to get out to a good start there. And then I've always viewed the Florida swing as, yeah, they want to play well, but it's just kind of gearing up for Augusta. So it is hard to say exactly, but yeah, there's guys that are just not the guys who should be competing and contending in most of these golf tournaments simply just aren't right now. And that's
Yeah.
that's pretty incredible there. That's where I think, Scheffler, has he, I don't know if has he won like outside of like April? I mean, is that like his latest wins? I mean, I know the last several years he's always won them pretty early and everything like that. So, this is typically, I guess, when his golf game shines and everything like that. But,
It's
you
true.
know, It's one of those things that's just kind of the perfect time for him to strike and on a really hard golf course, and he just happened to be firing on all cylinders just at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking about this today. I mean, is it conceivable that he wins either the Players or the Masters? Like, I know if you were like betting on that, that would be clear. There'd be clear plus odds on him winning one of the two. But I just right now, I don't know who stands in his way to actually beat him over 72 holes, especially when the course is going to play firm and fast and difficult. If it's going to play soft, at Sawgrass this week, or in a month at Augusta, then I think that brings a lot more guys into the fold. But I think when you see conditions like Bay Hill, man, I just don't know who can beat him. I mean, he's shown that he has just this capability of really to elevate his game when things get really, really tough. Um, I could go on and on about just how impressive he has been, not just this last year of ball striking, but really the last, I mean, since start of 2022, he's been
Yeah.
again. It's almost disappointing that he hasn't putted at least at a reasonable level for those 3 years, because I mean we could be talking about a you know 10 to 15 wins in that time frame.
Hmm.
We really should be. Um, um, Wyndham Clark, I guess he's like this big dick kind of elevated event guy now, right? Like you go back to last May winning Wells Fargo and then the US Open and then Pebble a couple months ago, and then really being in the fold here for another elevated event. He is now the number fifth ranked player in the world. He's the second ranked American behind Scottie Scheffler. I guess it's time to take Wyndham Clark pretty seriously.
Well, he's got I mean, his golf game, he hits that big power fade and he carries it real long ways, and the fades tend to do well on really hard golf courses because he can kind of keep the ball in the fairway and still hit it down there pretty far. And you know, he's putted great ever since since the winning Wells Fargo there. So, but you're right, yeah, you really don't hear about him on any of those smaller level events, and maybe he I'll say treats them that way, but he certainly has a propensity to play the big golf courses, the tough golf courses really well when when the bright lights are on. And I guess if you're going to do that, play well during certain events, you might as well pick the big ones. So uh, it could be something like that. I mean, it's kind of what Brooks Koepka always did with the major championships, and didn't really win much outside of those tournaments there. So it could be just the thing there, and that's how you get your world ranking points is you finish very very well in these elite fields, and
Mhm.
you just accumulate all those points, and before you know it, he's number 5 in the world there. So I. I don't see any reason why he won't stay that way because, like I said, I like the type of golf game he plays. He just hits that big bombing power fade, and he can know knows where it's going, and he just has a pretty good all around game from driver to putter. So you know I don't mind that at all. I don't mind him in major championships kind of going forward because he's proven he's got the game to win one.
Yeah, obviously. Um, we talk about world rankings. We take it with a grain of salt, especially these days, a little bit. But I know you're a big believer in what the data says, and data golf. I love data golf. They have him as the 21st ranked player in the world, which might feel a little bit low as of right now, based off of what we've seen from him. Again, in some of these big events. But you said it best. Bombs it, can hit it in play, hitting the fade, especially into for fast greens like this week is obviously an advantage. And he is one of the best putters in the world. So length, and he's got two elite skills in my mind. With just his driver and his putter, and he's become an above average iron player. That's kind of been all the difference the last year. Still couldn't stay within 5 shots, Scotty. Um, uh, oh, did you hear his comment though about the what he thinks the tour should be for elite players now, though.
Easy
Which
to
are
say when you're a journeyman
Yeah.
who I would never call him a mule because he was a guy who
No.
was very always super talented, just could never always got
Right.
his head would
Right.
get in the way and he wouldn't play good. And suddenly becomes a good player. Now it should be, you know, he was the guy who originally shouldn't have deserved a tour card for the first like 3 to 4 years of his professional career. So you know what,
Right.
I hear that shit, and that's what kind of turns me off of him. And I think that's another reason maybe why he is such a good player. He is very arrogant, and that's fine. That's how you got to be an elite professional athlete. You got to think of yourself as better than a lot of people. So you know, that kind of works out, and that's just a very Wyndham Clark comment there. So you know, if that's what he's going to say, that's fine. I'm okay with him thinking that, but it's absolutely wrong,
Right.
considering he wasn't one of those guys until he, you know, played in a U.S. Open and won a 12 under par, you know, U.S. Open. So
Yeah. It does feel different. We've heard Rory talk about this a lot the last couple of months about a world tour and what that would look like for top players. It's different. I feel like Rory has earned that clout, and Wyndham Clark hasn't yet. And you're
yeah,
right. I mean, before last May, Wyndham Clark was not a top 100 player. I mean, we
no,
knew he had the talent to do it, but he hadn't put it together. So it is always easier to talk about that stuff when you're actually in that position that he's in now. Um, by the way, have you seen Full Swing? Any Full Swing
not at all.
episodes? Okay.
That'll be after I get back from vacation. It's been
I'll
too
be
busy
I'll be
since it came
anxious.
out.
I've seen the first four. There is a Wyndham Clark episode, and it is spectacular.
Okay,
It is quite good,
we'll
and
we'll
it
definitely.
it'll make you root for Wyndham Clark. Um, it really will, and he was very transparent, and it was an excellent
Okay,
episode. They did a Wyndham Clark and Joel Damon kind of split episode, and kind of one side versus the other side, and kind of where they're at in their career. It was a good one so far. I've been happy with 3 of the 4 episodes in full swing that I've seen. There was one that was like, but um,
yeah, maybe after the Masters or something like that, we'll do a review
yeah.
on what we thought and everything.
Anxious to get to the Ryder Cup episodes. I think I've read a lot about some Zach
Yeah,
Johnson stuff in there that's pretty cringy. So I'm anxious
yeah,
to get to that.
yeah.
Um, any other thoughts from Bay Hill for any of the top players or anybody that finished well that is noteworthy?
I mean, you mentioned Will Zalatoris. I'm
Oh
so
yeah,
happy to
yeah.
see. I'm so happy to see him back swinging the club well, um, putting it back pretty consistently. First
Mhm.
couple events in out in Hawaii when he in California when he had that broomstick putter just did not look good, but he stuck with it and he's hitting the ball very good. And if you guys haven't who's listening here, if you haven't placed a future on the Masters with him, it's only going to get smaller and smaller odds. I mean, I think we both got him. We got him a couple weeks ago, and he was still in the.
30s, right? Above
I think he
30.
was 35 ish.
Yeah,
But he's going to be a contender at that event there for sure. I put a little bit on him and just do that because I really like how he's looking and playing, and you know with him, he's got a certain level of confidence there that is always going to help him out there, and he plays that golf course really well.
yeah, I agree. I feel like it's ahead of schedule. What he's been doing, I didn't expect it this much this soon, especially Riv, how well he played there, and then Bay Hill this week. We both liked him quite a bit going into this week, and it really did bear out. Especially he got out there pretty far on Saturday. He was making bombs, and I think I texted you the Happy Gilmore line. Somebody learn how to putt, and then I think I cursed him from that point on.
You did
Um, but really, and he's 18-1 now. The Masters, 18
18.
to one.
Wow,
Yeah, I mean,
closing line value, baby.
there's only 5 guys in front of him now in the odds. So
Still get him because if
yeah,
he plays well this week, he'll be 15, 14 before you know it.
third off the tee this week, 10th in approach, and 22nd in putting. But first in fairways hit, I saw he went to a little bit of a shorter shaft. He's hitting more fairways, and
No,
I love that because we know he's an elite iron player. I just love watching him play golf. It's It's one of the joys I have in watching the PGA Tour. That's for you, Zach Fitzgerald. Um, I just want to end on Rory. I am really concerned about where he's at with his game and mentally. And and again, I don't want to get into full swing again, but episode one is all Rory, and there's some pretty telling things about where he is with some of his results, especially in majors, and how frustrated he is, and then also a lot of it was about the on course stuff with all the obligations he had to deal with last year off the course and how it became too much. But this year it just feels like he's kind of pushed all that away. He's taken himself off the policy board, and the golf just hasn't quite been there. And even when he shoots a back 930 on Saturday, he immediately plays himself out of it in the first 5 or 6 holes on Sunday. And I don't know what it is. Something seems to be missing, and um, I don't have a lot of confidence going into the Masters. That's for sure. Because this is about the first event where I really start paying attention. All right, we're about a month away. Who's really playing well? Who's trending? And it doesn't feel like he's headed that way.
Well, this was, I remember before the season started when I don't know if he announced his schedule or what. I think he did. Um, and everybody had mentioned this was the most events that he was going to play in prior to the Masters in his career.
That's right.
Um, Presumably because he was, kind of done with the policy board stuff and he can just want to focus on golf and playing a lot of golf and you know, getting his game in tune very early in the season there. And, I think there's a point where there could be, where there is for almost everybody, where there is just too much golf. So, maybe he's hit that point and, it's just, starting to weigh on him and everything. And he needs a little bit of a breather there because, a lot of these guys, if you look at it, I mean, they play couple events here and there, and then you see them post pictures on vacation, or they say I put the clubs away for, 10 days or 6 days or whatever it was. And, you know, it's hard to be critical because he's tried a lot of different ways to be successful. Um, for Augusta. So it's like, well, I don't blame him for doing that because now he's just kind of freed up and just playing golf. But it's turning out so far it's kind of backfired here. So he's gonna play the players and then we'll kind of see what his schedule looks like after that. But maybe he just needs a little bit of a time away and seeing where things are at. But it is very concerning though, and he's a guy that I mean they all are guys who could they could figure out something, they could change their ball position, they could change their thinking, something like that, and just start hitting it amazing. But it seems like his stuff gets put looked at under a microscope so much more than just about any other golfer there that it probably gets in his head a little bit there too. So I don't know. I'm hoping that he'll figure something out. But I mean, like you said, he kind of got himself back in the tournament and just shot like what 41 or something like that on the
So
front nine on Sunday. We didn't make a birdie until like 11, 12, 13 or something like that. And finally just kind of played some carefree golf and played well. And that's just not you can't do that on golf courses like that kind of fits you. And they're ones course like Bay Hill's one you're supposed to have a lot of success on. And this close to the Masters, it's going to be harder and harder to find that one thing that needs to flip. And if you keep playing golf and just try to play yourself out of it, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So hopefully he'll be able to, you know, figure out what he needs in order to kind of get it going because we are not far off from that week.
yeah, players this week, and I assume he'll play the week before the Masters in San Antonio. He typically does the Texas Open. Um, but yeah, this is what his third week in a row with Honda, API, and players, and that's coming off of a pretty busy stretch out on the West Coast. I don't know. Maybe it's too much golf. I mean, I know we've kind of broken this down year after year of is it too much, not enough. I don't really know. Um, I ask you, and sort of the agenda, as we're talking today, to grade the season so far. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because I got some other things, and we will get to the players. What's give a letter grade for the season so far? Just the calendar year season since 2024 hit. What's the PGA Tour letter grade so far for you?
I'd probably give it a D. I'd I
Hmm,
I it's just
it's not great.
I mean if finally a marquee name won, but and these stories of and I've said it before, these stories of these guys winning has been wonderful. Seeing these guys, um, that they kind of come out of the woodworks and win events, but that's okay for certain events sometimes, and it's cool when they contend, and then they, the broadcast team has a neat story that they can lean on. But when you don't have Jordan or Justin Thomas or a lot of these guys winning events, it's just it's just not great. It's simply it doesn't get a lot of people excited when they've got to watch you know some of these guys playing these events here, and it sucks to have to say that because it's generally the PGA Tour is a great watch, but you look at some of that stuff and it's just like no. And I wish it could have been better. And it was nice to see, like, Hideki winning at Riv was a big deal with that great round and everything like that. But that's been about the big highlight there. And there's there's this void of these superstars contending, and people just don't generally watch. And I've watched pretty much most every single round and everything like that, just because like you and I were both kind of degens when it comes to you know PGA Tour golf and everything like that. But I mean, maybe you'll give it a better grade. I don't know, but I don't. I think it's been a big kind of disappointment for the most part.
I I didn't think it'd be a great grade from you. I didn't expect you to go that low, and I respect it because I don't think you're far off. I had a C minus.
Okay.
So it's I share a lot of the same thoughts. You're right. You know, the top players have been kind of angling for now this upper echelon tour or whatever they're calling it. But it's kind of funny because in the elevated events, um, a lot of their performance just has not been there. Even guy like Colin Morikawa this week, like how do you miss the cut this week? Like it's really hard to miss the cut
It's really hard.
this week. Like how did you do that, man? So I respect these guys, especially having equity in the tour now, and they feel like they're a decision maker. And now that all these top guys are pushing for kind of their own tour, so they can kind of just share the wealth, but their actual performance in a lot of these events is a lot to be desired.
Mhm.
I appreciate the stories like a Jake Knapp. That was great. And I think he's someone that could be a true, kind of a burgeoning superstar. Like I really do. Like he's kind of got that charisma. He's got a fun personality, extremely watchable game, the way he hits it and how long he is. But there just hasn't been enough of these needle moving moments that the tour has really wanted. And we still haven't seen in an elevated event two superstars really going at it. Even
Yeah.
I can't remember really any last year where it was coming down the stretch. A Scottie and a Hovland or Morikawa and Spieth, whatever. You just haven't really seen that. Even when I was at the Memorial last June when Hovland won, it was Hovland and Denny McCarthy. And it was fun, but you're just like, I want two superstars going at it in the ring in the 12-round fight. And we just really haven't seen that. And I think we had kind of hopes that it was going to be that Sunday with Scotty and Zalatoris, but it just didn't bear out that way. Um, so I'm wanting more, and I'm wanting more from the top guys. Um, yeah, it's been kind of a dud. And so I'm really hoping it picks up here as we get closer to the Masters, and hopefully it starts this week with the players. Buy sell. Buy sell. We need like a segment, like intro, like I don't know, like a sound effect.
We
Maybe
do
yeah.
like a graphic too or something like that that pops up with.
Yeah. Our my editor, our editor, Josh Cross, who shout out. I should shout him out all the time because a long time ago, probably a first year doing this podcast, we'd have to record this, and then I'd have to do the legwork after for about a good hour, putting it together and editing the sound, and it sucked. And I hated doing it, but I had to. And then Josh Cross dropped in and was like, "Dude, I will do that for you." And he's been doing it for 2+ years, and forever indebted to him. And he continues to do it, and he's just spectacular. So, Josh, shout out to you, but also if you could do a sound effect for buy sell, that'd be great. All right, so buy sell. Ready for this?
Okay.
Buy sell. Jay Monahan giving anything at his presser, probably on Tuesday, that is going to give us any path toward a live PGA Tour agreement.
Sell. There's no chance that this is going to be anything. I mean, I know it'll be reported on and it'll be live on Golf Channel, but sell that like immediately, right?
That was too easy, I think, wasn't
Yes.
it? I you and I both love No Laying Up and everything they do, and I listen to all their pods. And Kevin Van Valkenburg, who used to be a writer for ESPN, he's jumped on board with them last year, and he's a great follow on Twitter or X.
X.
And he mentioned that here's the questions that Jay Monahan should be asked this week at his presser. Are you still committed to a deal with PIF? If you're committed to this, then what issues are holding up this any discussions since the framework agreement of last June? What is happening? I mean, we are what, 9 months post framework and announcement, and we have literally nothing. We have nothing. We don't have a timeline. We don't have any sort of idea if this is going to come together. If Live exists on one side and PJ Tour on the other side, we have no clue. Should the future of the this is something we just talked about. This should the future of the PGA Tour enterprises involve two tours, one for the stars and one for the mules. You know, the guys trying to get into that top tier. Um, Again, great point. So those should be the top three questions, and I couldn't agree more because I think Monahan has talked about being transparent, and it's great to say those words, but the actions are completely opposite of what he has said. And I don't even know the last time we've heard from him. And I would love to know where we're at. Is this going to happen or not? I mean, and I know things have changed a little bit since the SSG infusion of money and equity into the tour, but I have no idea where the PIF would stand now with SSG.
Yeah, we're gonna get the biggest, juiciest nothing burger, I think, when he ends up speaking there. But yeah, you're right. Is whether this is gonna make a difference because they did have a lot of investors into it. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
My thought, and this is what I think a lot of even guys on the PGA Tour, the top guys are clamoring for, like Rory and whatnot, is just let them play. Figure out a way that the live guys can play in these events. Whether there's a pathway to get back, that's fine. I mean, create some sort of way because you're losing, I'm losing, golf fans are losing. Because the players are doing what they're going to do. They're getting rich. They're playing the signature events. They're playing in the live events, and they're not on the same golf course here. And it's just it's I think it's a direct representation of kind of how the PGA Tour season has gone and everything. Then it's like just give us something here as far as that. And in order to save the product, there's going to have to be concessions that are made, and they can create requirements and everything like that for these guys to come back. You got to do it because you're going to lose out because people are generally going to stop watching.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've made this point before that we we have steadfastly said that no one watches Live, and I still stand by that. But now less people are watching the tour because people are so turned off to just the whole debate and the whole division of golf that it's really pushed the casual watchers away, and really they're only interested in the majors now. And I don't know if they're wrong. It's all that really matters is those four events right now. I mean, we love the week to week and kind of watching, what plays out, but kind of those are the true needle moving events, and that's where we're at. Buy or sell the Anthony Kim story.
Oh, god damn. See, okay, I don't have access to any of these questions here. So this is all I'm hearing from these here. Buying or selling Anthony Kim's story. Hmm.
Okay, I'll go
I
first. I'll go first.
okay.
I'm selling this. And you and I will like the last what 5, 6, 7 years will be like, man, I wish what's going on with Anthony Kim? Is he coming back? You read that rumor on on X that he was seen
Yep.
practicing. I mean, there's so much of that. I kind of miss that. I kind of miss like the legend is almost greater than it is. To me, it is greater than what's playing out the reality. I kind of wish it just would have faded off and never come back. Now, of course, you can't turn down that money. I understand that, but I don't know if I really want to see him toil away shooting 76 or 76. Yes, I know he shot a 65 this final round.
That's kind of my thought is I was thinking about it over the weekend. Somebody asked me about him. Never really heard about Anthony Kim. So I got to go through the whole Anthony Kim, what I remember of him and everything like that. And it just kind of sucks. See him come back and, just play the mediocre golf. And that was probably gonna end up happening. That's just the nature of how hard this game is and reality and competition and everything like that. So I still want to buy it. I want to buy it so bad, but he's almost in a you can't almost recover from this unless you somehow play elite golf. I will say Liv has done him really dirty by not pushing him to build this up. They should have waited until I think next one's in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
sometime here before the Masters here. Is they should have just built this up. Maybe had him make appearances in Saudi Arabia and in Hong Kong, and had him tell his story. That's what people want. Is they want the story. They don't really. I think
Yeah,
we want the golf game, but we really what we're craving in the end is the story. And by him not telling it, I know he's like, well, I'll tell it when I want to tell it. That's great, but you kind of just they've done a lot of things, I think, very poorly with bringing this back, and unsurprisingly, that's what they've done. And I'm not sure if the PGA Tour would have done better, but this is just like I don't know. It sucks because this mysterious person who just disappeared off the face of this earth, essentially, as this charismatic, fun golfer to watch. Now he's just back with not wearing a belt, and his shirt's half tucked in, and I'm okay with that. By the way, that's fine. That's just how this dude's gonna be and everything like that. But it's just like you just like, hey, Andy Kimmy's back. Nobody got to watch him unless you watched the replay of the CW, a couple of weeks ago there. But it could have been done differently, and they kind of just ruined the comeback, and that's what they had to build this, and they just dropped the ball and like that. So in the end, I still want to buy it, but I think it's ultimately going to be a sell, whether I want to throw
yeah,
money at it or not.
yeah. Good points. Good points. I agree that Liv could be handling this different from a marketing standpoint. I think we've seen from in at least the couple of years Liv has been around that marketing might not be their thing
No,
though.
man,
But
man, if you want a sports wash, you just play that up, and nobody will. I mean, everybody will pay attention to Anthony Kim and that story because I mean, I don't know if you've seen like I'm not one to question what another guy looks like or anything like that, but just how he has changed physically, and you could see what his lifestyle had taken a toll on him. And I'm hoping that he's healthy and happy and
yeah,
clean and all that, whatever he wants to be. But man, that 12 years did.
there was
I
some
mean,
hard
he
living.
he had some hard living, and good for him for that and everything like that. But it's just kind of a disappointing way to say, hey, here's could be the greatest one of the greatest golf stories ever. He's playing in Live Jeddah, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. I would just I'd rather remember him as this guy that made 11 birdies at the Masters, and the what could have been. It is always more fun to think about and talk about than, oh, he actually came back and now he's toiling
Yeah,
away on Live, and we'll never see him because he's on the CW, and Live,
yeah.
Live Golf is just not that fun to watch. So
CaffeineTV.com or caffeine.com, caffeine.t. I don't know what it is.
that's a ratings bonanza, though. Okay.
5 million people watched.
I love it. Last one, and I'm very serious when I ask this. Buy or sell Jordan Spieth as a serious contender going forward? It's a very open statement.
Oh, I'm gonna buy it still. I'm gonna still give him another little while because he had the couple of years putting the golf ball that not many people that have ever on this earth have ever said. I mean, he made putts as well as Scottie Scheffler hits the golf ball
Yep.
and won a lot of events there, but that has got to work. And that's a very valid and a great question because you don't really think about that because he's still not that old and still
No.
plays pretty good golf. But I think I don't know if I texted you about it or something like that. It was like you really can't trust him to win an event, to play 72 good holes. I mean, you know, going down the stretch, if you got Wyndham Clark versus Jordan Spieth, you know, tied up with 12, 13, 14 holes to go, you're gonna take Wyndham Clark 9 out of 10 times at least. I mean, for
Yeah,
something like that.
absolutely.
And that's an interesting question. I mean, are you selling?
Yeah, I put it out there just because I've been thinking about just Jordan's almost a non-story most weeks, and it's like, how did we get here? How did we get here from what was one of the best starts to a professional career that, in the last, what, 50, 75 years, right? To this point he's at now, where, and I think we mentioned it last year, what he's got one win since 2019. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Hilton Head,
Um, did he win a
2 years.
Head?
Hilton Head 2 years ago.
I thought he won. I gotta look at this. Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right.
He
Okay,
beat
my
Cantley in
bad.
a playoff.
You're right. I was thinking of the Texas Open in 20.
So he's got
That
2 wins.
that broke the drought, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Two wins since the Open in 2017. So we're coming up on two wins in 7 years.
That's
Regardless, yeah, regardless, I'm still buying as well, but I think it's just worth conversation. Like, what, even, we talk about the putting, and the guy made more 15, 20 footers than anyone you've ever seen from 2015 to 16, 2017. But he was also an amazing iron player at that time as well. 2017 was, I think, top three strokes gained approach that year. I mean, he was great. And, uh, now I think the driver is largely his Achilles heel, where you can't trust him at a course like Bay Hill for sure. Um, and even a course like this week at Sawgrass, where it's too unpredictable off the tee at most courses, where driving is kind of the key to the tour these days, it feels like. And I don't know. I still think, and when we did our majors prediction last fall with Zach, I think we both still had him getting at least one more major down the road, whether it's a Masters or an Open. I just think week to week he's not. I just don't take him seriously as a contender most weeks. Um,
yeah,
hopeful he has a resurgence at some point, because golf is more fun when he's in it and
absolutely.
he's
Yeah.
one of the guys. Again, needle movers. We're talking about Rory, Spieth, those guys, Justin Thomas. Those are the needle movers. We need them to play well. All right, let's get to the players. This is it's an incredible week on paper, and usually from a TV viewing product, it's this is something the tour does right. The players is just it's a great TV product. The course is spectacular. It's one of your typical Florida courses with just an immense amount of risk reward. Um, the finish is spectacular. I feel like everyone knows the back nine from playing the video games growing up, um, and it it's just a perfect canvas for the tour's flagship.
It is the way, I mean, it was set up to be a golf course where it was great to go to because the way they've got it with the slopes and everything like that, and it's just it's during the right time of year. They moved it to May briefly, and it kind of when it was too hot basically to have the golf course survive, but it's just kind of perfect right now. It kind of gives you that, you got some big events on the West Coast, and it's part of that really strong Florida swing. It's just enough time before the Masters that these guys can kind of test and see where their game is. uh the iconic last three holes, 16, 17, and 18, three of the greatest finishing holes out there, not only for the golfers to play, but just for viewing purposes, just to be able to see that. And I mean, it always just draws the elite fields. The golf course itself, it's a Pete Dye golf course, and basically the way he designed his tough golf courses, this was designed to just mind f you the whole way around. That's a lot of what Pete Dye did. Is he'd have fairways kind of where you had to go at them a certain way with, like, you had to hit a fade, but then you have to hit a draw into the green. So you have to be able to work the ball both ways or the other way around. Or it sets off the tee markers kind of facing one way, but the fairway looks like it's kind of tilting the other way in a different direction. So you just those little subtleties that really just kind of irritates you. And that's what a lot of the players have always said. It exposes weak parts of anybody's golf game. I mean, it requires kind of the full bag, driving the golf ball to irons, short game and putting. And then they can get those Florida winds that blow off the Atlantic there, and can really just make the golf course real tough because of all the water there. But it's fun because it's stood the test of time. Like you said, it's on every video game. They play it there every year, and they really push it as like the premier event for the PGA Tour there. So I always like watching it. Love watching it, actually. They always have a ton of coverage.
Mhm.
NBC does a pretty good job with it. That's where we got introduced to the Gold Man, um, who unfortunately
Uh,
retired, but we will probably see him on the Facebook post. At least I'm
Probably.
hoping so. But but yeah, I mean, minus a
Uh,
few of the guys who are not, or on the live tour and everything, it's going to draw the best fields, and um, it fits a certain type of golfer though. Like if you're a guy who struggled here, I'm sure you know. I know we've discussed that before. If you're a guy who struggles on this golf course, it just it's just hard. It's just hard to score. It's not one like, oh, I'm hitting the ball better, so I'm suddenly going to start playing playing good golf. Pete Dye, he messes with your mind, and that's what he did. And I think that's what this one, out of like all the golf courses that I could think of that guys playing the PGA Tour, I think this one is like the crown jewel for that. Is just, you're either going to be good here or you're not going to be good here,
yeah,
and it's hard to flip it the other way around.
yeah, that's a good point. I I think something else I appreciate about this course is if you look historically, the winners here, it's not a certain type of player, right? It's not bombers. Bombers have one here. It's not necessarily, great putters. It's really an eclectic group. You got your Tim Clarks, you got your Fred Funks, you got your Scottie Schefflers, you got Adam Scott, you got Tiger, you have Webb Simpson in a tour de force a couple years ago, right? Like it is
Yep.
truly whoever just plays best that week, but it doesn't really fit a certain type of game, and I think that's why I do like it, is because it can be a bit unpredictable as well. Um, it's kind of the perfect nexus of Scottie Scheffler, defending champion of this event when he ran away last year. It was his last win, crazy enough, before last week. Um, And so we're looking at the odds as very, very short for Scotty at 5.5 to 1. It's funny because I think it was out at Pebble or Phoenix when one of the shows earlier this year when every every one of these top guys was like from 12 to 18, right? And we were like, holy shit, you can just put a blanket over them and it's really hard to make a pick. Now this thing is really spread out. I was pretty surprised when I opened this up today. Scotty at 5.5, Rory at 12, and those are only two guys right now under DraftKings that are under 20. And that's really kind of how those guys have differentiated themselves, especially Scotty from the rest of the group. Xander at 20, JT at 22, Cantley at 25, Homa at 25. Hovland is sliding all the way back to 25. Morikawa and Zalatoris at 28, and Hideki at 30. So I think the ultimate question is Scotty or no Scotty, and if you play Scotty, how creative and aggressive can you get in a parlay?
That's, I mean, at plus 550, that's what you'd have to do, because just there's no, I don't want to say there's no value, but there's not much value in it. But before we get into the odds or who I really really like, let me just preface it by this: I believe, is the last 16 Players Championships that have been completed because they canceled the one year with COVID when Hideki was going to win that one. That dude was going wire to wire. But anyways, I digress. Of the last 16 Players Championship, um, 14, I believe, of the golfers who went on to win the tournament had an early tee time on Thursday, a late tee time on Friday. I don't know. I'm thinking that is a weather thing and a start the golf tournament and play well and then just kind of hang on come Friday. I think there's a lot of validity to that. Normally, I wouldn't look at past numbers as far as that goes, as far as because a lot of that is going to be based on luck, is whether the wind is blowing or not. But
Right.
14 out of 16, I think that's a number, especially on a golf course like this, that you really have to pay attention to. Now, what I did notice is there's a lot of good golfers that are going later. I only skimmed through the tee times because they just kind of came out shortly before the show. So I'm not going to get into that too much. You can always go to pgatour.com and research them there. Scotty is playing late early. He did, though, when he did win a couple of years ago, he was late early. And Scottie Scheffler is that incredible and that incredibly better than all of these guys that I think you have to figure out a way to get him on your card. Now, I that's how I think you and I ended up getting them before. We parlayed them with some basketball. Um, you know, I I did that before with a couple other events, and I with Rory, who ended up playing pretty poorly and everything like that. I end up losing that before Thursday and everything, but I think I'm going to have to figure out a way to get him above 10 to 1 at least. And I'm not gonna bet him bigger. If he's going to win, he's not going to win me that much money. I mean, that's just simply what I'm going to have to do. But if he wins, that will for sure cover my bets for the week. And that's just how
Right.
I'm going to have to approach that. So I'm going to find something. We've got some NCAA basketball. We've got some NBA. We're going to figure out a way to get him, maybe you can get him at 12 to 1 or 15 to 1, something like that. Get a little bit aggressive on that. But I think you got to put him on your card in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
I know,
just
I know you hate that number, but
I
I
do,
mean,
but yeah, and last week we both got him at a much bigger number. Again, it's kind of where you want to settle yourself with a parlay, how aggressive you want to be. If you're good with 15, if you try to get closer to 20, then you're just, of course, it gets very risky. And then what do you do if it loses before you even get to Thursday? Do you kind of fire another one off and see if that works? It's tough. It is really tough, but it's just incredibly hard not to think he's going to be in contention and play really well here. I mean, again, defending champion, winner last week. Again, you can't think up a better situation going into this week for him. Of those other top guys, who you liking?
I do like Vic Hovland. Don't love his game right now. I
Really?
was hoping to see a little bit more
Mhm.
out of him at Bay Hill there, but he just kind of he played okay on Thursday and just kind of tailed off a little bit there. And our favorite one of our favorite guys, Max Homa, played some good golf here before. He finished top 10 last year, top 15 the year before. Finished what fourth place last week or fifth place or something like that at Bay Hill, despite struggling on the final round there. So, big time event, Bermuda Green, so got used to those and putted pretty well on those for the most part there. Um, 25 to 1 isn't too bad for Homa, considering kind of how the rest of the field has been playing there. But um, I don't like Rory. I mean, is Xander going to win? Ha ha ha. Cantlay seems to he's not very good on this golf course at all. Will Zalatoris is a good number there. I don't know
Hmm.
what Colin Morikawa was doing, so he's back there switching putters and everything like that. So I don't love this group, but you almost got to find some value here. And Homa and Hovland are probably my two picks out of this group.
I didn't see the Hovland play coming based on form this year, but in theory, you would think a really nice golf course for him. Um, just the way he strikes the ball, manages his game, doesn't make usually big mistakes, especially off the tee. Um, I will definitely be taking Zalatoris again. Um, I'm almost to the point where if I like Scottie on a golf course, I think I'm going to like Zalatoris on the same golf course as well. You think
That's a
about,
great point.
I mean, if you think about just major championship type courses, Zalatoris has played his best golf, uh, best results at majors. Um, the more difficult it plays, I think that plays into his hands. So I don't think it's going to play as tough as last week. In fact, I think I saw they got a lot of rain over the weekend in Ponte Vedra Beach. So I think it'll be softer, but I will roll the dice with Z again if I'm going with Scotty. And then if I had to pick another guy from that group, it'd probably be JT. Um, again, Xander Cantlay's form has a lot to be desired. Same with Hovland. Morikawa, again, just doesn't seem to be in a space where he is going to contend. But I think JT is again. It's been a really nice comeback season for him, and he's piecing together a lot of nice finishes and a lot of good golf. Um, Definitely a course that I think he would like to win on as well. And I think I remember him saying when he was younger that he always thought the players would set up perfectly for his game and just the risk reward and using the slopes on the greens to make a ton of birdies. And I think I remember didn't he shoot 63, 64 here when he was I think a few years ago. So
Barely made the cut, yeah, and then end up winning.
um, but the round I always remember was a couple years ago when it was insanely windy and he
Yes,
was I
hitting
mean
knockdown drivers and
just
shaping it into the wind to keep it in the fairway. That was a
insane,
clinic.
insane. Um, 35 to 50. Lowry, Burns, Spieth at 35. Uh, Ludwig at 35. Wyndham Clark, we talked about earlier, still a little disrespect at 40. Cam Young, Russell Henley, Tommy Fleetwood at 45. Harmon, Si Woo, Tagala, Jason Day at 50. Give me a name there.
Got some intriguing numbers here. I'm still liking Sam Burns. I think he's playing good golf, and I know you like him too. And you've kind of turned me on to almost a weekly thing whenever he seems to play. I don't love him this week, but I like him, and I'll probably find a way to get him on my card at 35 to 1. I like Shane Lowry to play well, but not to win.
Yeah.
I just don't feel good about him winning, but he's playing great golf now. And he plays good Florida golf really well because he lives down there now. Um, I'm really surprised at Wyndham at 40. I think that's pretty good value there. I don't know what his I honestly don't know what his golf course history is. I don't know what his tee times are, so we're just kind of assuming that we're not looking at anything like that. But I mean,
Je-
he's playing great golf, and this is a hard golf course.
Jesus Christ, you got me convinced about the tee times now. Damn it, I'm going to look at that.
Well, I figured we're just talking about him now, and then once our best bets once we look at that kind of stuff there. But Wyndham Clark at 40. Um, guy hated Jordan Spieth at this golf course. I mean, we were just kind of talking about him. I'd even look at. I hate doing these guys because it always bites me in the ass. But finding if you get plus odds on him to miss the cut, I would seriously consider a miss the cut bet
Yeah,
on Jordan. Unfortunately, I'd love to bet Ludwig Aberg, but
I was going to
I
ask
think
you
he's
about
just
him.
his just there's not that when he had that fall series and was playing elite, it's just not there right at the moment there. So he's gonna be a stay away from me. But and another guy, Russ Henley, I actually did bet him a little bit to win because I think he was at like can't remember the number. I think I got him at 80 to 1. He was on Sunday. He's been putting the ball so well. I like him, and I don't know if he plays morning or afternoon. He's always a good first round lead guy, but
Yes.
45, and I think I bet him at either a top 10 or top 20 as well. I don't know if he can actually win. It was more of a sprinkle on a win bet, but it was like, you know what? I think this guy could finish top 20. He's playing really good golf, and his struggle's always been putting, but
Yep.
he's been putting the ball really, really well. I think he's kind of an underrated. And it looks like if I got him at 80, he must have been hammered by some pros there or something like that if he's down at 45.
Pretty incredible get for sure. And I don't hate him. Profiles perfectly. Profiles
Yeah.
perfectly for this. Hits a million fairways and
Yep.
elite iron player and just comes out of the putter. But yeah, I like that. And he might be your classic Shane Lowry type of I like him, but maybe not to win. But
Yep.
I also don't hate him. Yeah, Ludwig is interesting because we've seen his number pretty much this whole season be around 20 to 25, and you're getting a bit of a bargain at 35. But he hasn't played here, um, and I don't know. I don't know how his game's gonna fit. You asked about Wyndham. His history here is poor to quite poor. It's 27th last year, and then he had miscut, DQ in his history here. So
Well, that's when he wasn't a top 100 golfer. So, now that he is.
that's true. That's true. I I don't. Yeah, I mean, the Burns play, he kind of burned me last week at API. I really felt like he had a valid chance to win middle of the day Saturday. Kind of gave a few back, and then he just totally, totally bombed on Sunday. And I don't really know what happened. I know he started off with a triple and never recovered. I still think he's played incredibly well this season. I mean, he's one of the three or four or five best guys this season. Um, I did put a huge, huge free bet on him at the Masters at I think 45 or 50, whatever. I did that last week. So I don't know if I like him this week as much. I don't know. I don't really love this group. I won't get myself sucked into the Cam Young um, path again. I
Come
just
on,
won't.
we've got a
I just
couple
won't do
days
it.
until you go Cam Young
But
here.
man, that number keeps that number has fallen to 45, but he's just oh my God. I can't think of a guy that's been as incredibly frustrating week to week where you just think like this guy's got it, man. He is so good. And then just the output is totally opposite. So I think I'll largely, I don't know, stay away from this group, to be honest with you. Fleetwood is same as Cam Young. He made a fucking 12 on number
Yeah.
six last week. He missed the cut. Like gross. Gross. Um, 55 to I don't know about 80. I'll name these guys and then we'll just go 80 and above. Minwoo, who I really like this week at 55. Hoagie, Connors at 60. Finau, oh Tony Finau at 60. Ben On at 65. Rye and Fitzpatrick at 70. Tom Kim, Sunjay at 80. Keegan at 80. Chris Kirk at 80. I love Corey Connors this week at 60. I haven't looked at odds checker to see if you can get a better number, but I love Corey Conners. It's one of my
I,
favorite plays on the board.
I could buy that. I mean, the players has had first time PGA Tours winners win at TPC before. So,
He's
it's not
won
a
twice.
well, that's right. He's won Texas, hasn't he?
Jesus Christ! Do you not count
I'm th
Texas?
I'm thinking of what is it, Mackenzie Hughes? Is that what I'm thinking of? One of those Canadian guys. That's a mistake. I'm sorry. That's a
It's
mistake.
okay. It's okay.
Um,
Corey Conners will forgive you, I'm sure.
Appreciate that,
But
Corey.
he's
Thank you.
got a very Russell Henley type game to
No,
him.
he does. I mean, supreme ball striker, great iron player and everything. Um, Ben on at 65 to 1. Again, I don't know if it's going to be one of those guys who can like win, but he finished tied for eighth at Bay Hill, played good golf. He's been playing really solid golf all season long.
Yeah, he
Kind of just
has.
goes out there and just plays decent and just kind of compiles finishes. I mean, if you
Should have won
don't
Sony. Should have won Sony.
should have won Sony, yeah. And if you don't like him to win or a top 10, I mean, you could get him at a top 30 or 40 at pretty good plus odds there. So he's going to find a way on my betting card there. Don't really love anyone else. Don't dislike the counters bet at all. I've kind of Matthew Fitzpatrick at 70 is just like
Same
that's
number.
really tempting. That's just
It
like the
is.
dude's
Yeah.
won a United States Open not long ago. It's like,
Yep.
ugh.
Yep.
And one guy I wish had a little bit better form because I like him for this type is Tom Hoagie, but I mean
They're gonna
Tom
say
Hoagie's
Tom.
just
They're gonna say Tom Kim.
no. I mean Tom Kim no. I he hasn't. I mean I think he's won for a reason. I mean it was just not. There's not much to love about what Tom Kim's doing at the
Yeah.
moment. But again, he's what is he, 23 years old or something like that. So but Tom Hoagie though, I like his type of game.
Sure.
I just don't know if it's been decent enough to have a decent finish. But that's kind of
Yeah.
it for those guys. I'm definitely going Ben on though.
Yeah. He's sure resurgence the last couple of years from having to go back to Corn Ferry and then the
Yeah,
last year and this year, but very, very good on tour. I agree with you about Fitzpatrick. That is a jarring number to see from a major winner, and he won Hilton Head last year, and Ryder Cupper, all that. In a way, Finau as well at 60 is a big number for him, but I could not like him less this week, so I won't go down that road either.
yeah.
Um, 90 and above. Certainly won't name names here, but I don't know if there's anyone that you've spotted that you like from this group that's a long shot, true long shot play.
Adam Hadwin is a really good value pick. Not much for the win equity, but again, if you're not betting totally on wins, he's a great iron player. Solid all around golfer, and doesn't go into these huge slumps. He's pretty consistent there, so I don't mind. I don't really mind Hadwin at all. I think he finished. I know he finished like top 20 last year, and I know he's had a couple good ones, so he's got that course history that certainly works there. And
Mm-hmm.
then Eric Van Rooyen at plus 130 to 1. I mean,
Yeah, he's been playing great.
Guys played some really good golf. I don't think that
Yeah,
feels like he's mispriced.
yeah,
Um, I'm gonna actually, as soon as this ends, I'm gonna go ahead and throw something on him because I just like I love his golf game. I mean, he's a proven winner. He's won some events, and he can shoot. He can go low. He's just a real solid player, and doesn't really have much for weak parts of his golf game. At least for when he's playing good golf, there's just not that one glaring weakness that he's got there. So those jumped out. I do like Steven Yeager. I like him just about every single week. Um, he's down there pretty far as well. I think spotted him at 150 to 1. So, I'll probably
mm-hmm.
have him on my card in some manner.
Yeah, yeah. Jaeger's been playing good, really good. Um, I like certainly not to win. and I don't think I really like any of these guys to win that are above 80 to 1. But Andrew Novak's been playing really, really solidly this
Really
year.
good.
I might take a shot at the plus 1200 top 10. Really complete game. That's why I like him for this week. Um, Kevin Yu is kind of interesting. Also had some really some moments where you're like, oh, he might win a couple times. 180, also 12 to 1 for a top 10. Just for the firepower that I think he could make a lot of birdies this week on this setup if it's playing a little softer. A guy that I passed over also in the top 10 market, a little bit, it's probably a little bit safer than these guys. Harris English, he's been playing
Yeah.
pretty solid, plays Florida golf pretty, again, has that type of game that you can trust him at least to, again, I don't think he's going to win, but 8 to 1 for a top 10. So there's some names on the board that I like just to keep an eye on for um, top 10, top 20, whatever you feel comfortable with. But can't really feel like these guys are in the, um, you know, I'm gonna have the week of my career and win this tournament. It's tough to envision that for me this week. Anything else for the players?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think they're supposed to get any kind of weather the early part of the week. So I think what we see and read and watch on Golf Channel as far as what the conditions are, what it's going to end up being. So, and I think Sawgrass has that. I think they've got the sub air system in the green, so they can suck all the moisture out of these. They can make these greens play as crispy or as soft as they want. So, it's just generally if they get a lot of rain, it's going to affect the fairways and it's going to make the rough thicker and everything like that. So once we get a better idea of what the weather's going to be looking like, it'll be easy to kind of pick it out. But I'm really excited. I mean, seeing Scheffler play good golf on a good golf course, and now we're going to one of my favorite events to watch. I can remember watching this all the way as early as it was 1994 is the first one I remember watching when Fred Couples won. I think it was a
Oh
Monday
yeah.
finish. Um, that was a big deal because family was pretty big Fred Couples fan. So I remember watching that. I can't remember. Did he beat Tommy Tolles, I think, going down the stretch? Tommy Tolles was
Um,
playing some good golf at the time. So there's your little fact of the day right there. But I think it was the 94 players. I remember my
uh,
dad recording it on the VCR and we'd watch it because we were big fans of the golf course. So we would watch it. They had early front nine coverage so we could kind of see most of the golf course and we are popping the tape in on a random day and just watching Fred Couples
yes,
win the Players Championship.
love it, love it. That's great. Um, yeah, and now you get about as much coverage. Not the players, but just a normal tournament, and might
Yeah.
get some front nine coverage. Might have to stream it though. Might got to go from ESPN Plus to maybe Peacock to get some extra coverage. You should do like a whole podcast, literally, on just the coverage and how outrageous it is to watch golf at a
Can we
professional
have as
level.
many commercials on the podcast as we do during the coverage, though?
Mm,
We wouldn't
it's
have to talk that. We wouldn't have to talk that much. So maybe that's not a good idea.
I just want to say CBS is clearly in front of NBC these days, and it wasn't
Yeah,
that way not that long ago. But CBS is really good these days, and
yeah.
NBC is they're trying, but they're not there.
And speaking of NBC coverage, you see who they're bringing back for the
Kisner,
event?
right? Right,
Kisner,
Kisner.
but Gary Koch and Roger Maltby
I
will be
did see
back.
that. I did
I don't
see
know what
that.
their capacity will be, but
Yeah,
those are two of the familiar voices from our childhoods.
I
Um, hearing
I
that,
do love Maltby as my on course reporter. I mean, that's just
yes,
so many of like memories ingrained in me, or Roger Maltby with calling a tiger shot on the course,
yep,
and
at the Open or something like that.
yep,
Yep, or the Players Championship or whatever. So that'll
yep.
be kind of interesting. We'll see what they do, but again, it'll be like you said, it'll probably be a mediocre production because it's not CBS. But
But this will be their best of the season. I
yes,
All right, Johnny Strasser. Thanks for being here.
Always good. Can't wait for this week.
Best bets coming Wednesday. YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And later in the week, we'll also have the Three Rivers Tour season preview with a couple of Three Rivers Tours guys, and I think Zach will be with me as well. So that'll be really exciting to start to talk local golf season coming up at the end of this month, and have those guys and talk about the tour. So can't wait for that. Thanks for listening as always, and we'll catch you next time.